Man, this one right here, it's getting real spicy. Talking about the brewing tension between South Carolina head coach Don Staley and UConn legend Geno Auriemma.
Geno with some words for Dawn, and
two of the biggest names in women's college basketball, and now fans are starting to wonder, is this respect or is this straight up beef?
I will say this, I'm extremely triggered by how this man Geno tried to handle Dawn Staley. I hated it.
Because lately, the comments, the interviews, the little shots being thrown, yeah, they not going unnoticed. And when you're dealing with a powerhouse program like the UConn Huskies women basketball going head to head with South Carolina's dominance, things are bound to get heated. So what's really happened between Don Staley and Geno Auriemma? Where did this tension start? Or is it about basketball or something deeper? Let's break this thing down.
Geno with some words for Dawn, and
what went wrong on the sideline right now?
I have no idea, but I'm gonna let you know this. I'm of integrity. I'm of integrity. So if I did something wrong to Geno, I had no idea what I did. I guess he thought I didn't shake his hand at the beginning of the game. I didn't know. I went down there pregame, shook everybody on his staff's hand. I don't know what he came with after the game, but hey, sometimes things get heated. We move on.
Before we get into all of this, let me make it very clear who won, who is still winning, who will continue to win, who is so incredibly important to basketball that her name is synonymous with winning at every single level of the game, and that's Dawn Staley. Her team is going back to the championship game for the 4th time. For those who may have forgotten, let me remind you who the fuck Dawn Staley is. Dawn Staley was an elite college player. She was an elite WNBA player. Dawn Staley has 3 gold medals at the Olympics as a player. She is an elite college basketball coach. She started coaching college basketball while she was playing in the WNBA. And yeah, she has a bunch of gold medals coaching. So when legendary UConn head coach Geno Auriemma decided to attack her character, her integrity, her understanding of how to behave at a women's basketball tournament game, that was the rage that comes with being somebody who cannot handle not only losing to women, who he has had an issue with his entire career, but losing to a black woman. And rather than taking the fucking hit, rather than going and congratulating those players, he decided to pitch a fit. And he has a history of being very upset when a fellow college coach happens to be a woman and happens to best his ass. He notoriously hated Pat Summitt. Pat Summitt won a lot of titles in Geno's face. He didn't like it. And it boiled over when she accused him of cheating to get Maya Moore on his team. And it's a good thing he fucking did, because his entire career, his legacy, all those titles that he's so goddamn proud of, they are built on the backs of black women who have the opportunities they have because of women like Dawn Staley. There are a long list of elite players who have played for Geno Auriemma, but Maya Moore has the most points in the history of that program. Maya Moore, not Paige Beckers, not Breanna Stewart, has the single season record for points. Maya Moore, right behind Nikisha Sales, has 2 of the highest scoring games in the history of that program. Tina Charles and Maya Moore are at the top of the rebounds all time in the history of that program. Dawn Staley is a trailblazer at every single level, and he knows it. And his ego is so bruised by these women, by Pat Summitt, by Muffet McGraw at Notre Dame, and now by Dawn Staley, somebody who has achieved every single thing he's achieved across the course of his career, except at every single level. And now she's beating him at his own game too. No matter how many titles Geno Auriemma won, no matter how many undefeated seasons his teams had, he will never be what Dawn Staley is to basketball. And I hope that Geno Auriemma's former white players, Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Rebecca Lobo, whoever else you want to roll out there, come out and say exactly what the fuck needs to be said. None of those women have a sport to play or a league to play in if it's not for black people, and black women specifically in the WNBA and in women's college basketball. That is a fact. These are the moments that define if you fucking understand why you are where you are as white women. I want to know if you know what time it is. I want to know if you understand how important Dawn Staley is to basketball. Do you understand how much more difficult it was for Dawn Staley to achieve what she achieved and to be better at it the entire time than he could ever fucking be?
Apology was weak. I mean, I accept it. We all accept it. He doesn't owe us an apology. He doesn't even owe South Carolina an apology. He owes Dawn Staley an apology. What the hell is up with a statement, an apology, and you don't mention her name once? You didn't go up to the staff of South Carolina. You didn't go up to the University of North Carolina. You went in the face of Dawn Staley. That is who you addressed publicly. That's who you tried to undress publicly. Post-game, you know, when you was talking about it, you didn't talk about what you said about Carolina. You talked about what you said about her. So to me, for the University of Connecticut, for him to issue the apology, it's clearly one that came from UConn, as opposed to him directly.
I just want to interrupt you real quick. Rebecca Lobo said on the broadcast that he did call Dawn Staley specifically.
I'm totally aware of that.
Okay, does that matter?
I'm totally aware of that. No, it doesn't matter. Not to me.
Okay.
And the reason why is because you went up to her publicly.
Yeah, that apology was super weak, and not to mention her name shows just how disingenuous he really was. Look, a very bad look on your part, Geno. Geno lied, got emotional, and then played the victim. That fool became a male Karen.
Women's basketball Hall of Fame head coach Geno Auriemma's sore loser racist side came out last night at the women's Final Four. Instead of just telling South Carolina head coach Dawn Staley good game after they beat his team, he decided to be disrespectful towards a female and make up lies.
Inbound here. The officials will hold the players now. Dawn and Geno getting into it a little bit on the sideline as Geno has to be held back.
This dude is a women's basketball coach, and he decided to talk shit and be disrespectful to a black female basketball coach because he's a racist piece of shit. If Dawn Staley was a white man, he would not have came at her like that. He was just being a sore loser. Geno tried to make up a lie and say he was mad because Dawn Staley didn't shake his hand before the game. But here's proof that Dawn Staley shook his hand and his coaching staff hand before the game.
I'll show you that video really fast. This is the pregame video. That's pregame? This is pregame. And she did say that she went up and shook everybody's hand on that staff.
Before that, at the end of the third quarter, Geno tried to make Dawn Staley, a black female, look bad on national TV by saying she was saying horrible things to the ref.
But this is ridiculous. Their coach rants and raves on the sideline and calls the referee some names you don't want to hear.
He's a racist piece of shit for saying that because he tried to make a black woman look hateful and ignorant on national TV. But Dawn Staley couldn't have been talking as bad as he's saying because Dawn Staley didn't get one technical foul last night. So how was she talking so horrible to the refs? Then he lied about how his player's jersey got torn.
Some names you don't want to hear. And now we get 6-0, and I got a kid with a ripped jersey, and they go, I didn't see it.
But South Carolina didn't tear his player's jersey. His player tore her jersey on her own, and she admitted it.
It was an accident. I missed my shot. Ripped it by accident.
An accident? Girl, you tore that jersey on purpose. I don't know what you talking about. Geno's behavior was embarrassing and disrespectful last night, and this is what that piece of shit had to say about it.
I don't have any regrets about what I said. Why would I? I've been coaching a long time. I've never had a kid have to change their jersey because somebody ripped it. Before the game, you meet at half court. Two coaches meet at half court, and they shake hands.
He tried to act like Dawn Staley was talking so nasty to the refs, but when reporters asked him to repeat what he said to a black female last night, this was his response.
What did you say specifically?
Why would I say it? I said what I said. And obviously she didn't like it. I just told
Every woman who has ever served in a leadership role recognized the epic mantram that Geno Auriemma had when he lost by double digits to Dawn Staley in the Final Four. Rather than take responsibility for the loss himself, he blamed everyone else. It was the fault of the refs. It was Dawn Staley's fault for coaching too aggressively. This sore loserdom is very familiar to any woman in a position of leadership who has beat a man on a level playing field who simply cannot stand losing to a woman. And if you're a black woman in leadership, then I know it's happened to you even more often. But like so many women leaders who've experienced this in a public forum, Dawn Staley gave a masterclass in how to refuse to allow men like this to take the oxygen out of the victories of women. She refused to comment on it. She let him marinate in his own bad behavior and focused on winning the next game, the national championship.
All right, so you just saw it for yourself. That wasn't just fans overreacting. That's real tension people picking up on. When you really look at it, the situation between Dawn Staley and Geno Auriemma didn't just, come out of nowhere. This has been building. I mean, we're talking about two elite coaches, two powerhouse programs, and two completely different eras of dominance. You got Geno, who built dynasty with UConn Huskies women's basketball, And then you got Don Staley, who came in, turned South Carolina into a huge problem for them. And, let's be real. When a new powerhouse starts taking over, there's always going to be some friction. Now people are saying, this is just competitive energy, nothing more than, two legends protecting their legacy. But others, they feel like there's subtle shots being thrown, especially in, post-game interviews and comments and how certain situations get addressed publicly. That's where things get interesting. Because in today's era, it's not just about what happens on the court. It's about perception, respect, and who really runs college basketball right now. So the real question is this just competition? Or are we watching the start of a real rivalry between Don Staley and Geno Auriemma? Because if this keep going the way it's going, this might turn into something much bigger.
This the real reason why Geno got all that smoke for Don Staley. That's the real reason right here. Because since 2017, his ass got 1 championship and she got 3. That's it. That's it. And I know you're going to tell me, well, no, he don't care nothing about that. He Geno. He had to remind us over and over again how many times he's won. How many. God damn it, we know your resume, man. We know it. But Janet Jackson say, what have you done for me lately? And I know just last year, he won a championship. But goddamn it, he had Paige. Have y'all seen her? I think y'all know her. He had Sarah Strong, who just won National Player of the Year this year. She was colder than mother last year. You know what I'm talking about? And he had Fudd. You feel me? You can't mess that up. Stevie Wonder could coach that team and wouldn't mess that up. So that 1 title since 2017, Geno ain't used to that. This guy used to winning 4 straight. You know what I'm talking about? Winning 100 games straight. That's what he used to. So when he has a rival, he don't like that. He likes to have a monopoly. That's why he didn't like Pat. Because Pat used to get in his ass too. He don't like that. So then he gonna get in his feelings. Because y'all see it. Over that same time since 2017, Don got 3 of them things. Geno don't like that. Geno don't like it. Geno don't like to see them girls that Don be getting go down now. He used to get all of that. It was just him or Pat. He don't like that he ain't just got that stranglehold on college basketball no more. You know who he act like? He act like Nicki Minaj. Y'all remember when Nicki was winning every damn BET award every year for Best Female Rapper? We had no problem with Nicki. We had no problem. But as soon as some of these other girls started coming, that's when we had the problem with Nicki. Because she didn't want to share that stage. She didn't want to compete. She just wanted that monopoly. That's Geno's goddamn problem. It wasn't no pre-game handshake. It wasn't nothing about that girl jersey getting ripped. Hell, the girl told you she ripped her own damn jersey. And they couldn't tell Geno nothing. And now he want to apologize today. Keep that motherfucking apology. Yeah, you want to apologize now at the timeline and tow your ass out the frame. But I know the real reason you're in your feelings. It's this right here.
I hear my client Don Staley is facing angry black woman allegations. You knew I was coming with the response. Production, roll the clip.
The officials will hold the players. Now Don and Geno getting into it a little bit on the sideline as Geno has to be held back. And Don and Geno, that's part of what makes this rivalry.
He lost by 14 points? Yeah, I will be mad as well. Now, to be clear, I don't know too much about basketball, but is it usually a good idea after your team loses to, I don't know, blame everyone else instead of taking responsibility? Just a question I'd like to pose for the audience. Now, back to the case. In reviewing the evidence for court for this case, I noticed a lot of you so-called publications wanted to use this photo as your headline, but why are we starting with Don's reaction and not the beginning of the confrontation when Geno approached Don Staley with the disrespect in the first place? It's quiet. What's wrong?
Don't worry, I'll wait.
But I'm not going to get too upset because I see what the issue was, because according to my calculations, Geno made a few critical mistakes. For one, he didn't realize that black people come in various genres and personalities. So in my assessment, Geno thought he was getting a Taylor Townsend tennis black. You know, Taylor would have hit him with the, but you can learn how to take a loss better. Thank you so much. Great job. Great play. Beautiful work by Taylor, 10 out of 10, no notes in that response. But unfortunately, Geno miscalculated, and he did not realize he was dealing with a black woman who had this haircut. 10 times out of 10, when you approach a black woman disrespectfully who had this haircut, your odds of winning a physical confrontation decreases dramatically. Anybody who was hooping with Martin, you might want to take some of that bass out your voice when you speak to them. So, regrettably, when my client, after dealing with the disrespect, said, I do think she meant that literally, but I would argue she was justified. As I often say, don't start no stuff, won't be no stuff. Dawn is innocent of the angry black woman allegations, but I have seen enough and I'm ready to pronounce my sentence. Geno, since you had something to say, don't worry, boo. You will get your opportunity. You will be placed in a room with Dawn Staley with no one there to intervene. And if you have that same bass in your voice as you had on the court the other day, Dawn will be able to respond as she chooses with no consequences. Good luck. Next case.
Some of the classiest people, and if anyone should get the benefit of the doubt in the world of sports, it's Geno Auriemma, because he's one of the most authentic, genuine, great people you'll ever meet in your life. So.
Well, I'm glad you apologized because we about to tear your ass up, Geno. But anyway, Ocho, Joe,
we still gonna tear his ass up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, he was dead wrong.
Yeah, hey, dead wrong. Hey, Uncle Joe, listen, as a coach, especially a winning coach like Geno, you have to be able, you should understand, and you know how to learn how to win with grace and lose with grace. When you beat Miss Staley last time, you was all smiles, all smiles, happy hugs, ready to, whatever it may be. And the fact that you say some things to Hollywood and saying that in the game that Dawn Staley probably influenced the rest because y'all guys didn't get the calls necessary. Yeah. Listen, South Carolina, they didn't just beat y'all. They dominated in every aspect of the game.
Yeah.
They played great defense.
Yeah.
It just did.
Yeah.
That wasn't getting beat. That was getting your ass whipped.
Yeah.
That's all it was. I mean, listen, your team got embarrassed. You got to be able to lose with grace as well. Okay, you didn't get the 3-minute handshake, or you waited 3 minutes before, pregame, and you didn't. What is that? That had so you still.
She did shake his hand. Ocho.
Yeah,
she shook his hand
in pregame. Well, why did he say
yes. Before the game, she shook his hand, man.
Oh, so he's upset and he had to wait 3 minutes? Is that why did he even bring that up?
He's upset. He was the favorite. They blew South Carolina out last year. Yeah. They were favorite. They got 2 All-American, first team All-American.
Yeah.
They might have the player of the year in Sarah Strong.
Sarah, hey, she nice.
But South Carolina beat them.
Yeah.
And so this is, I thought I was going to win. I was supposed to win, and I got beat.
Yeah.
That's what this was about.
Yeah.
This was a sore loser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody no damn handshake.
Yeah. Undefeated season. He was salty, bro. He was salty. And how about not just apologizing to the coaching staff, give a personal apology to Dawn Staley. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, bro, for you to get in her face like that and talk stuff to her after the game, man, just congratulate her and move on. I understand, in the heat of the battle, we get a little pissed off. Like I said, he was on the brink to having an undefeated season, Unc and Ocho.
Yeah.
And like Unc said, he was a heavy favorite, but man, them girls from South Carolina,
they just outplayed him. They rose to the occasion.
They outplayed him. They dogged him. And he couldn't take it. Couldn't take it.
No, don't say South Carolina. You didn't do this to South Carolina. You was in Dawn Staley's face.
That's what I'm talking about.
Apologize. Say, you know what? I want to apologize to the staff, and I want to personally apologize to Dawn Staley.
Hello.
Now you told a lie because you said you had a great relationship with the staff. You don't. You said before they asked you after the game, do you have a relationship? You said no.
Right.
So were you lying then or are you lying now?
Right. Hey.
And you know what? Whoever wrote that apology to Uncle Joe for him?
ChatGPT. Allegedly.
That too. And he know if you're going to apologize to someone.
Allegedly.
Yeah, if you're going to apologize to someone, you apologize to the person you had the altercation with.
That's
what
I'm saying.
You didn't have an altercation with the staff.
That's what I'm saying.
You didn't have an altercation with the entire entity of South Carolina.
Yeah.
That apology has been directed straight to Dawn Staley and nobody else.
Yeah, and the fact that he was dead wrong, talking about, my player got a ripped jersey. Hell, she ripped her own damn jersey.
She ripped her own jersey.
Yeah, she ripped her
own
own
jersey. I've been
jersey.
coaching 40 years, and I've never had a player rip jersey. Well, I guess you never had a player get that upset then, because she ripped that on her own damn jersey.
Like, just dead wrong. Just, you dead wrong like that, bro. Just apologize. Make a personal apology to Dunn. That's what I felt like it should have been. But I just felt like he was dead wrong, bro. Dead wrong.
Don said, I'll beat Geno ass. I will beat Geno ass.
Oh, you read her lips? You read her lips too?
I don't read no lips. You go hear the audio. That's what she said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Don from Philly, Uncle Ocho, she ain't playing.
North Philly.
Yeah, she about to get to it.
Yeah. and that's anytime you have to, it has to be personal.
Yes.
Because what you did was personal.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to apologize to your institution because the way you behaved and put them in a negative light? You can say that. I want to apologize to my university also. But you did this to Don. You didn't do this to your entire staff. You did this to one individual. Now, whatever the case may be, I don't know where it goes back from, but he had a very contentious relationship with Pat Summitt, the University of Tennessee.
Yeah.
It was very contentious. I know had the lovely opportunity of meeting Pat in New York at the Sky Club at LaGuardia. Had a great time. I said, Miss Summitt, how you said, call me Pat, so forth and so on. But Geno, you was wrong.
Dead.
And your apology, I appreciate it, but it needs to have a personal touch to it. It needs to say, I apologize to the person that I spoke out of turn to, that I approached, that I probably said something that I shouldn't say. I don't know what he said, but the way you behaved is that you took a lot of the steam out of the sail of South Carolina, because what we should be talking about, that South Carolina did what many didn't think they could do.
Right.
Beat an undefeated team, a reigning champion, with 2 All-Americans, and they did it on the defensive end.
Yeah.
There had some ladies that rose to the occasion offensively, but this was a defense. You look at what Sarah Strong shot, you look at what AZ Fudge shot, and that'll tell you everything that you need to know. But for you to not have a personal touch and say, I'd like to apologize first and foremost to Dawn Staley.
Yeah.
She's a hell of a coach. She's revived. Hey, look here. The Gamecocks, when you think about the Gamecocks, you think about their women's basketball team. You don't think about the football team, and they've had a baseball team, had a good baseball team, good track program with Sarge Fry. But when you think of South Carolina Gamecocks, you think of Dawn Staley and the Lady Gamecocks.
Absolutely.
And so for you not to talk about the staff, you said you do not have a personal relationship with Dawn Staley. And I'm not saying that you have to.
Yeah.
That's fine. But your behavior would suggest that you need to have personally apologized to her.
Yeah.
I appreciate you apologizing to the University of South Carolina and their staff, but they got to have a little more personal touch to it.
So, at the end of the day, this situation between Dawn Staley and Geno Auriemma really come down to one thing, and that's respect. Look, you got 2 legends, 2 dominant programs, and 2 different generations trying to define greatness in women's college basketball. And whether you think this just competition or something deeper, one thing is clear. People are watching everything now. Every comment, every interview, every little moment. Because when you're dealing with names this big, nothing goes unnoticed. But look, I want to hear from y'all. Do y'all think it's just normal competitive energy, or there's some real tension brewing between Dawn Staley and Geno? Drop y'all thoughts in the comments. I'm reading everything. And look, if you rock with this type of content, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on post notifications, because we breaking it all down. The biggest stories in sports, no filter. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.